So I am an American, if you cannot tell.
I can
So I
tell.
think I know, right? My exposure to the Wiggles and like experience with them is probably much different than yours. Could you please tell me, what your experience was like with them, like growing up? Because I know they also came onto the scene like maybe a little later into your childhood. Like, were you always aware of them, or were you like too old?
No, I think I caught the tail end of it. So I was born in 91 and the Wiggles were established in 91. And it took a few years for the Wiggles to kind of take off and become a global sensation. And I definitely grew up watching the Wiggles as with a lot of other children's TV shows. But, my memory of the Wiggles is Dorothy the Dinosaur. When I hear, the song of Dorothy the Dinosaur and the Wiggles, it just takes me back to, preschool. Or they had these daycares before you hit the preschool. And it just reminds me of that and just kind of dancing around the lounge room. And I had a twin brother and a younger brother and younger sister. And it's just, it just takes me back to my childhood.
Because I'm not going to lie, as someone who did not grow up with it and was not aware of it, what I thought the Wiggles were and what your current iteration of it are very, very different than what I was expecting. Not a bad way, but I was just like my introduction to them, the modern version, is through you,
Oh, right.
which, it's very like online friendly. There's the tree of wisdom is not something. It's just like that's a thing that is happening.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, like, how has the international, because I know y'all are going on tour, like how
Yeah.
has that international visibility, like has it changed anything for y'all?
No, I think, like a lot of people, especially in the US, like they knew the Wiggles as the four men with the dinosaur back in the
Yeah.
90s, in that kind of generation, the kind of late 20s, early 30s. But, especially with social media and access to, these social platforms, it allows people to reach, like you can reach a wider group of people in a short amount of time. I think with growing technology, and I think it's just fun. And I always think if TikTok, Instagram, and social media was around in the 90s and it was relevant like it is today, would it be different and would they reach the same amount of people? It's just hard to kind of know. But I guess, as you said, you came across the Wiggles through myself and the Tree of Wisdom, probably through TikTok and Instagram. And I think that's a
Yes.
cool thing. And I think do you have children, or do you have children
I
yourself?
don't, which is why I was like, how is this in my feed?
How do you know? Well, I guess, yeah, maybe the algorithm can pick up that maybe one day you might have children and you might think, what's a genuine TV show that I want to put on for my kids, and
Yes.
hey, what that Tree of Wisdom was dancing, let's just give that a go.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I think the hypothesis I have is I used to work in children's television behind the scenes. So I was like in
Oh,
post. So I
awesome.
was like, okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
also, you are half Filipino, half white.
Yes, yes.
I am Hapa, which I don't know what the Australian equivalent of that phrasing is, but
What's
I'm also
happened?
mixed, and so
Oh,
it's
awesome.
it's like it's the Hawaiian phrase for anybody who is basically like white and Asian.
Oh, great.
um,
That's me too.
yes, so right, you're Hapa, and so I think that because I cover a lot of AAPI, or I guess in this case,
Yeah,
a Australian PI stuff, and that's how you came onto my radar. And so I'm actually really curious, like for you,
yeah.
do you kind of and sorry, this is a broader like personal-ish question, but do you like generally identify with both halves of your culture, or if I was to be like good day or mabuhay, like, or are
Yeah,
you like
yeah,
50-50 split?
You know what? Like when I was going through high school, me and my brother, we really represented, we really embraced the Filipino culture, and we were kind of
Uh-huh.
Pinoy pride. Pinoy is just, when
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Filipino,
Oh, don't
and we
worry,
were,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was just something fun, and it's just like we're obviously Australian, and we obviously embrace the Australian side, but the Filipino side from my mum's side, we were kind of jokers. We love to have fun, and we've got cousins and my brother and younger brother, and we used to always hang out and joke a lot. And the Filipino connection was just such a fun way, especially my mum. I don't know if you've seen videos of my mum online
Oh,
that
yes, I have. I've
introduced her.
yes.
Yeah, and we just love to laugh and have a good time. So I think that's what kind of brought it out, and we really embraced it through school, and especially the dancing side of it and the music side of it, and we just really loved that kind of musical side of the Filipino genes.
Yeah. What is your go-to karaoke song? Because if there's one thing I know my Filipino friends love, it is karaoke.
Oh, I know. It's like that magic microphone that looks like a remote, right? And then every
Oh, yeah, I
Filipino
have been
house has.
to. Yes. Yes.
So, anything Backstreet Boys back in the day, I
Okay.
just chuck that on. We just jump around the lounge room singing it.
Understandable. And then for you, like your background, like with Justice Crew, because yes, I did my research.
To make
Like
it even more random.
how was like adjusting from that? And obviously you were in the public eye, right? But now you're in the public eye in like a different capacity. Like
Yeah.
what was that transition like for you?
Like it wasn't as streamlined as I'd like to make it out to be. For the people that don't know,
You didn't get the
stuff.
call one day and they were like, "Hello,
Yeah,
Justice Crew, come
yeah.
wiggle."
It wasn't just like from one to the other. Like from Justice
Yeah.
Crew, we won Australia's Got Talent in 2010 as a breakdancing group. We used to
Yep.
busk in the streets of Sydney just to kind of make ends meet here and there. I just finished school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So that's how we kind of went on to Australia's Got Talent. And we won the show, didn't expect to win as a breakdancing group, then started pop music, which is also new to us that we didn't really know. We loved music already, but, that
Yeah.
wasn't our main goal. But being open to opportunities and being and just taking advice from different people in the industry, we took it on board and we just ran with it. And 2 years later, we had two number one singles in Australia. We kind of toured in America with Pitbull and Kesha, and it kind of went from this whole stardom, like we were these pop stars, which we were always reminded to remain humble and stay grounded, and I think that's what kind of allowed us to kind of stay with it for a while. But making that transition over to children's music wasn't just a click of the thumbs. We met Anthony and the Wiggles through the industry, and we had
Mm.
these events like the Carols in Domain and these musical events in Australia that we can kind of mingle with other artists and things like that. So I met Anthony through that journey, and it was just one thing led to another. Just before COVID-19 came around, and the touring industry, the music industry was really affected, and we actually lived in the same neighborhood. And I actually bumped into him one day, and we just kind of got to
Oh,
chatting and connected through social media. And just because the music industry wasn't working as it used to be, touring wasn't happening. We just got to chatting, and he invited me down to Wiggletown, Wiggles HQ one day, and just said, there's a project they're working on, if I was open to it. And before you know it, I'm wearing the purple skivvy a year later, and I'm here talking to you.
yeah. Okay. And I also love, like, correct me if I'm wrong, your brother also makes still music that is now like there are youth friendly cuts of his music too.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
fallen into the the children's
Yeah,
thing
it's a
now
family.
too.
You guys were just like, we can't not. Also, what color skivvy would you assign to your brother?
What would I give
Are
him?
you allowed to?
Yeah,
Yeah, what color?
I actually let him wear the purple. He looked nice in purple too.
Well,
I
I would
went,
imagine since you are, yes.
we're identical twins, so if you look at us, you
Yeah,
don't think we're
yeah.
related. But yeah, without the beard and his top knot, and if I grew a beard too, we'd look exactly the same. It's
I mean,
funny.
yes, that is my understanding of how twins work. So I am very curious, like, and I don't know if it was different for you in Australia, but like, what is the first time ever you felt represented on screen? Because you are obviously like,
Yeah.
going to bring in a whole new generation of people. Like that person looks like me.
Yeah, I know. Look, like when I think of it when I'm younger, I actually didn't really think too much of it and being represented.
Mm,
I watched a lot of sports, and you'd see a lot of the footy players, the NRL, that were
yeah.
half caste and they kind of looked like men. And when I was playing sports growing up, I felt like, I would say I'm that player, for example. And that would kind of give me the confidence to play sport. So I think to relate it to that's probably the best way I'd put it. But having a twin brother at that age, you kind of feel like you have someone that looks exactly like you everywhere you go. So we kind of had each other and that support. But it is super important for the next generation to see themselves represented on TV. And you don't think much of it, but I've been flooded with DMs and messages on my social media from parents with their kids and children that say, like, they want to be strong like you, and they see themselves, they think, your daddy, or things like that, and they see themselves represented. So it's really important, I think, for the next generation. If you're growing up watching diverse TV and television shows as young as toddlers, it kind of teaches you to be accepted and also have empathy for other cultures around you, and it builds a better community, I think, down the track. So it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this kind of ties back to then my question about like a question about, starting in Justice Crew, right? Like you can be very uncensored,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would imagine being in the Wiggles, you're maybe more considerate about the things you post online. Not censoring, but
100%. Yeah,
just
you're right.
yeah.
You're right.
So what has that like kind of a transition been like in terms of how you consider your online presence and just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
finding your identity? And I know you have like many of us like two accounts, right? You have a business one and your
yeah, yeah,
personal one.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm just curious, like how has that mental shift worked for you?
Yeah, well, it's you just kind of grow with it, and I'm at that age now where I'm not striving to get that type of attention. Like I'm happily married
Yeah,
here. I'm expecting a child here, so that
right.
obviously it does run through your mind, the content that you do post, and keeping it all real to myself and genuine. But
Mm,
you still got to kind of keep in mind that I'm here, and one of the Wiggles, and there's a responsibility involved with that. So just finding that bit of a balance between both, but keeping it authentic to myself. And I think that's important with anything you do. You still want to remain true to yourself and your interests, and keeping that in mind in the background.
Some of these these are always I warn people that they're a little therapy-y and you don't have to answer them. But
I will
like
answer
growing
whatever you.
up, yeah, okay. Because I'm always interested talking, especially to people who are mixed, right? Like growing
Yeah.
up, were your parents always supportive of you like joining the entertainment industry, or was there maybe a pressure, maybe from the Asian side, to like be a doctor or a lawyer or like
Or a
one of the
nurse, or a Filipino
responsible
nurse.
professions? Right. I didn't want to say it, but a medical
Always.
profession.
Yeah. Look, I think with my childhood, my dad's a lot older than most dads would be. My dad's now 93 and my mum's 63, so there's a 30-year age gap. So
Yeah.
my childhood with my dad's influence is he was already kind of retired, so he didn't have too much involvement in what we did daily. And I think my mum
Mhm.
had a lot of the pressure of taking the kids out and taking them to sports and doing this and doing that. But at the same time, we also didn't have much. So we grew up in public housing, which is called Housing Commission here in
Yeah.
Australia. So we didn't have a lot. We had 2 bedroom house and there was 5 kids and we had to share one room. So we had to kind of make do with what we had. And something that me and my brother used to do, we used to race each other on the street for fun, and that was our creative outlet. Or we didn't have toys or video games or things like that, so we had to be creative. And my mum was always kind of the one that was there, that would just let us do it. And I don't think it's what she did; it's probably what she didn't do that allowed us to kind of
Mm.
find our path. And she didn't
Yeah.
force us to do anything, but also didn't tell us to do whatever. So I think having that freedom and non-controlling parents, I think it allowed us to kind of find our way. And that's kind of how I ended up doing music. And it was kind of I believe in like the power of the universe, and things happen for a reason. And just being open and encouraging, and just being super grateful. And I believe in all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and I love seeing your parents like involved, basically in your,
Yeah, and I think it's
and,
just,
and
and
your
my
mom
mom's hilarious.
stepping into the spotlight,
It's just
like
hilarious. And as much as like we have a lot of fun, she doesn't love the attention online and things like that, and she does get a bit of anxiety, as we all do. But we
sure,
have a bit of
yes,
fun, and that's why I try to catch her off guard and just don't really show her I'm filming. And she's had a good response, and for her, it gives her the sense of belonging too. And a lot of Filipinos have reached out in Australia and around the world, to say that we love your mum and that she's doing a great job. Everyone can relate to her humor and
yeah,
her personality, and it reminds them of their parents and their aunties, and it's such a great feeling.
yes. Please tell her that her like fan base has also now reached like Americans Without
Oh, I
Kids,
know.
who just are like, yeah, this is great. She's
Yeah,
amazing.
100%. Thank you.
Are you going to let your kiddo watch The Wiggles, or are you going to be like, I cannot hear this anymore?
Look,
Like this is work. Like
look,
I
as
can't do it.
I know it's you think of it like that. Me and Jess actually we watch the episodes just to kind of I watch it just to kind of watch see what I can improve here and there. But
Sure. Yeah.
when my child does come into the world, you can't really determine what they'll get into and what they'll stick to watching. I just have
True.
this
They
sense
could be
of
a full rebel.
I know I just have this feeling that I don't want to almost tell him I'm in the Wiggles, and just kind of put on
Mm.
different shows. And I'll put on the Wiggles obviously for him. And if he starts watching it, I want to see if he makes that connection. If he starts to realize, almost like Superman, or hey,
Yeah.
Daddy's got to go to work, but I won't tell you where I'm going, or and go through school and go, you didn't tell me this was you. I don't know. I just
Yeah.
have
Yeah. Yeah.
this way of how it would pan out. But you know what? I think
Yes.
he'll probably watch the Wiggles, and he'll probably be in an episode before he can walk.
That's true. I actually, I guess it's more like his friends that you're gonna have to watch out for because they'll be like,
Yeah,
"That's
yeah,
your dad."
yeah. I'll pick it up.
What is gonna come first, the Justice Crew onesie or the Wiggles onesie?
Oh, it'll
Which
probably
is
be the
going on
Wiggles
first?
one.
I'm
we
not
don't
sure
have
if
a
Justice Crew
we don't
actually
have a
made
Justice
onesie.
Crew
No,
onesie.
but you could start. You could bring the merch line back. Like
We've
the
got hats. I
secondary.
know. When he starts getting old enough to start wanting to break dance, we can kind of bring that out. But it'll probably be the Wiggles onesie for now. It probably is more appealing. The colors and um, the patterns and the styles. It's probably more
Sure.
relevant.
So this is actually legitimately a segment inspired by you because I was like, why is this in my reels? Not in a bad way, but I was just like, how did this end up here? And it's
Oh,
called
awesome.
Reel of Fortune.
Yep.
And so I am curious of what you are willing to share. And obviously, like, you don't have to share it, but what is something that has kind of infiltrated your feed that you had no clue about before and that you have gone down like the vortex rabbit hole on?
You know those videos where you drop something from a really high distance. I
Yes.
think I think
Yes.
Mr. Beast does it, and you just kind of watch it. And sometimes I just watch those videos for a while. I try not to scroll too much, but those random
Sure.
videos, I don't know. The algorithm obviously picks up what you're looking at for more than 5 seconds and starts referring you stuff
Yes.
like that. And yeah,
Yes, it
I've
does.
gone down the rabbit hole of just dropping things from a high distance and seeing what happens. Or have you seen those videos
It's
where
like, are you dropping things or
No, no, no. Or
yeah,
those
yeah, the
videos,
slow mo like phantom
it's when they
camera,
crush
like
things.
yeah,
Yeah, and they crush different things and yeah, and see how what happens to it. Yeah, that's probably the most
yeah,
random thing
amazing.
on my reel on my feed.
I mean, I actually don't think that's random, but I think that's very like
It's
internet
pretty
friendly.
common. It's pretty common.
I think so, right? Like, there's a reason that there's an entire like genre of those videos. I don't think
Yeah,
there's an entire genre of Wiggles videos,
I know.
aside from you all.
I know.
Um, uh, is there a friendly dance rivalry between you and the Tree of Wisdom?
Look, I think the truism is hilarious. Dom is like we go to the gym together most mornings, and he's been doing this for a long time. You know, he's Anthony's
Yeah,
nephew, and he's been in the Wiggle since he was 2 years old, right? Dancing and performing, and it's just such
yeah.
a different like when I see like the TikTok is just and Instagram has given us platforms to kind of to reach more people. And I think what the Tree of Wisdom does is incomparable to the dancing that any other Wiggles do or anyone else does online. And it's just so funny to watch. This is something about how he does it, and it's just like the whole package. When you watch him, you're just kind of in awe, but you kind of it makes you happy when you watch him dance, and it's hilarious. But yeah, there's no dance rivalry. I can learn a lot from Dom
Okay,
and the Tree of
okay. Just
Wisdom.
wondering. And the
Because
Tree of Wisdom. It's so I just can't like the way he moves is I mean the way you all move I'm just like this is not what I thought the Wiggles were. Okay, so I know y'all are coming to the US assuming you get to go on paternity leave for this.
yeah, yeah, we'll be there.
What are you expecting from this especially now because, you have visibility internationally. Like what are you most looking forward to, I guess?
Look, next year we're heading to the US. It's kind of for the first time since the '90s, or since a long time
Yeah.
actually, as the Wiggles and also as the expanded lineup, the diverse lineup, and this time, I
Yeah.
will be bringing my wife and my unborn child, which will be born at the time, on tour. So I'm really looking forward to doing all that, and also performing for all the families and children around the US and into Canada. So it's exciting, and it's just we see all the feedback online and all the comments and things like that and the excitement, and it's just fun to put it on to practice and just actually get there and just kind of say hello to all the kids that you're making happy, and it'll just be such a blast to bring the whole bouncing balls tour across the US.
Okay, going back to my broader questions. And I know you said like you spent a lot of time like outdoors as a kid, but growing up, who was your favorite fictional character?
Fictional character, okay, the great one. Okay, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Captain Planet?
Of course.
So I clearly remember
Yes.
Captain Planet being a
He's a
superhero.
hero, gonna take pollution down to
Yeah,
zero.
yeah, and like I don't know, it's just something very nostalgic for me, and as well as the Power Rangers, I really love
Of course.
the Power Rangers and Captain Planet. So something about superheroes really resonated with me, and kind of being healthy and fit, and I kind of guess that's how what I'm kind of playing in my head when I'm now being the purple wiggle. It's not like I'm trying to be a superhero, but kind
Right.
of in that sense, like having that wiggle essence, but having that kind of relationship with superpowers and influencing the next
Yeah.
generation. So I guess yeah,
And not
Captain
only that,
Planet.
it's groups of people also who were diverse, right? Like
Yeah,
it was
exactly
like
right.
there
Yeah,
were, like everyone had a different power. It might have been a little typecast, but
yeah,
at least there were people who like looked different from each other
yeah, and
with
I
different
think that's
powers.
kind of something that I was drawn to naturally, and now that I think of it, it makes sense.
Okay, this is also a broader question I like asking, but what is the first film that you saw in theaters that you were the impetus for going to go see? So you're like, I don't know how this got on my radar, but I must see this film.
Well, when I was the first, one of the first movies was the Power Ranger movie. That's the first movie I went and saw with my twin brother, dressed head to toe.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think there's a whole bunch of movies that I end up going to see that I didn't really want to see, but I end up loving. Like I don't know, let's
Okay.
just say there's a whole like
I can hear clinking, so I'm guessing there's somebody like about to check your answer.
no, like
Yeah.
that, like for example, like Moana, for example. When I first saw that, I didn't really think I want to go
Yeah.
see this movie, but it's just something that I really love now, and I kind of play over and over and over.
Yeah, amazing. And also, my mother has not forgiven me for seeing the Power Rangers, making her
Did,
take me to see the Power Rangers. Yeah, she
oh,
hated it. I
really?
loved it.
She didn't love it? Oh, you
Yes.
loved it too.
Oh yeah. Which color ranger did you want to be?
I obviously like I love the red, but I love the Blue Ranger was my favorite.
Oh, okay.
If there was a purple, it was probably the closest shade to purple. But you don't think like that at that age.
Okay, and forgive my ignorance into the like the specificity of Wiggles casting, but do you get to ask for the color, or do they like they're like there's a vacancy in purple?
I know. I didn't even think of the color. Being asked to join the Wiggles was already, this is insane.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. But once
any
it
color,
happens,
yeah. Like I didn't even think of it. Like purple was like any color that was given to me. I would have just said, "This is awesome. My new favorite color."
sure, right?
but I
You're
love
like, it
purple. I
doesn't matter
genuinely
if it matches my skin tone. It's my.
not.
I'm not saying it doesn't match your skin tone, but
I've tried. I think I've tried them on. I've tried blue on. Like this is just
Okay.
on set. We just try different skivvies.
Yeah.
I've tried the
Yeah.
blue. Yellow one doesn't fit me because Sahai and Evie are quite small, so it's really tight. And I haven't tried the red on. So maybe I'll try them on and I'll actually take a picture and see which one actually does suit my head shape.
There you go. How do you define personal success now, and how's that changed from when you were younger?
I think now it's like I really enjoy. I've always enjoyed what I do, and I think
Yeah.
since high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, what career path I want to go down, what I saw myself doing. Um, I just kind of I went with what was presented to me and kind of took opportunities, even though it was out of my comfort zone. And something
Mhm.
that I was naturally drawn to was, health and fitness. I became a PT for a short time. I tried to join the fire brigade, as we call it, fire rescue here in Australia. So I actually
Yep.
tried to join something that was quite fulfilling, quite active, and it kept me fit. And I think that was my aspirations. And now becoming a wiggle compared to Justice Crew, it's still in the music industry. And I think the main important things is not main financial benefit or anything like that. It's about, fulfillment and happiness. And I think that goes a lot longer. And I've got this tattoo on my arm that says, "Don't chase the money, chase the dream." And I think that's the most
Mm.
important part with any career and what you do. As long as you're happy doing it, you will be happier long term. So that's the way I picture it, and that's kind of what I like to live by.
Was there anything particularly catalytic in helping you realize that?
I think growing up with not much and having kind of
Mm.
bare minimum as a child, I was really grateful for what I had. And like my mum raised five of us off like $300 a week. So I think I had a great childhood and we were creative. And I felt like that's the bar. The bar's set there. So anything above that is like, I'm winning. So I feel like that's the main part of it. And that's what I'm really grateful for, with the way we were raised and what we didn't have.
It's a smart Asian man to thank his mom. Sorry, I was just like, good call. What do you think the most unexpected part of being a wiggle is that like people have no idea that is truly part of the job, because it's amazing, but it is a job.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, we are playing characters, but we also, we write the music, we play the music. We are real people that, we create the show, essentially. We have a team of the back end doing all the back end stuff, but we actually put the show together. We're actually a real band. We get in there and, we actually full hands on, we actually put everything together and we're so involved. My first year of joining the Wiggles, I was, a part of the writing process of many of all the new songs that came out, and just being a part of it and actually playing the live music as well as dancing and singing it in the show. So I think just the amount of involvement that you are when you become a wiggle, the involvement you actually have in the business side of things, it's amazing. And I think people, they think, we get given a script, we turn up on the day, we just read it and get out. But being a part of the whole script writing process and actually having your input and your ideas put into the show, I think that's what's blown my mind.
In terms of like the creative collaborative process, like what was the most biggest adjustment from going from like Justice Crew, right? Because you do have a lot of like agency there versus like,
Yeah,
hey, you're part of a team now, but it's a different team and it's also a
yeah,
more established team in a different way.
yeah, 100%. I've learned a lot, in the music industry and Australia and globally. It's all kind of similar, but I think it's made me resilient and what to expect through through the music writing process, and how it kind of works, and the relationships you need to build. And we were fortunate enough through our Justice Crew career, we built a lot of relationships too, and we were
Mm.
always told to remain humble and just it's not all glitz and glamour at the end of the day. And we didn't retire off a mansion in on the cliffside through Justice Crew. So the reality is that you know building those relationships and remaining grateful, I think, is the most important part of it, and being open to opportunities.
I assume at some point you will hand off the Wiggle mantle or not. I don't know. I don't know how retirement packages work in the Wiggles. But what is the next phase? Like, what is something that you haven't done yet that you would still like to do?
Raise my son. I think that the next step for us is
Sure.
start a family, and I think that, like,
Yeah. So
I've
close.
traveled. I know that there are
Yeah.
many things I'd love to do.
Yeah.
Traveled the world. Me and my wife have been to a lot of countries, and we've done a lot of things together. And the next stage is to raise a family and be able to travel and tour with the family. And I think that'll be the next goal, to be able to do and kind of break the mold of, you know, obviously it's going to be a challenge, and having that routine for your children, but also creating our own pathway to say, this is what works for us, and this is kind of the new way to kind of raise a family. We're going to try to do it like this, and also at the same time rewiring the definition of a dad bod. So I'm going to try to maintain my health and fitness.
That is an understatement, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm going to try to
yeah, yeah,
break all the molds. That's probably the next thing,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
I think you've laid the groundwork quite successfully in that department.
We'll see what happens in the next year or so, but that's going to be
Just
another
rocking
challenge.
a kegger, but like instead of the six pack, and you're like, "This is
Yeah,
how it is."
just science.
I doubt that is how it's gonna go. What is the thing you're looking forward most to being a dad?
I think just being a dad altogether and having that little piece of, me and my wife, we've been together for 12 years, married for 5, and just seeing that little piece of us just, grow and us being able to nurture this little child and just have that experience, I think we're just really excited. And all the Christmases and family holidays and things like that. I think, I had a great childhood and I'm just want to relive it again through my child.
What has your mother asked to be called?
I think she'll probably be Lola. I think
Okay,
it'll
yeah,
probably be Lola, I think.
I
I haven't
figured.
asked her.
I just tried to double
Could be the
check.
Filipino mom.
Yes, yeah. And you do not have to answer this question, but I am curious if your journey about like being part of the Wiggles and like your online presence, because I again was doing research and I saw like you all did share your kind of fertility journey, right?
Yep.
Like, was that partially maybe an inspiration to be like, hey, there are families who maybe already have one kid out there who like don't have, or are you just like, I just want to share this because it is something we've experienced and we know other people are experiencing.
I think that's kind of what we thought. We love to share our journey because it did take a while to get where we are today, and
Yeah,
we didn't really see many other people going through that sort of stuff. Like, no, it's you become really vulnerable when you do share that information with the world,
yeah,
especially with a platform like myself. And didn't drag my wife into it, but I think it was very brave of her to share her story. And it's not
yeah,
easy to you're not alone. And I think after we shared that, there was a lot of comments and messages saying like, thank you for sharing your story. I did the same thing, and it gave them a bit of a platform and that connection to say, it took them this long and they went through this and they also tried that to be able to
mhm,
conceive. And I think it's important to raise a bit of awareness around, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which Jessie was fighting for a while. And it gets a bit frustrating over the years and trying to figure it out, and no one really knows the real answer. And I think
yeah.
to know that there is help out there, and it took us a while to ask for help, and I think finally when you actually
Mhm.
do get the help, you just want to share that with the world, and hopefully people have the courage to actually do that and talk about it too. And I think that's what's great.
Well, this has been such a delight. Thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate you taking the
No,
time.
thank you.